Hello you, welcome to Geekism and welcome back to Pinewood Hills. It's Friday, so it's time for Pinewood Hills, which is our sort of British, what's the word, budget, right, it's been a long day, I'll tell you now, budget park in Planet Coaster. Yeah, it's been a really, really long day today, and it is only going to get longer. It's currently 20 past 11 in the PM on Thursday, so this video is going up tomorrow as I'm recording it, so apologies if I sound a little bit dozy, because I've had a big day playing videos. We did some Kerbal before that went up tonight, yesterday. Now, as you listen to this, the joys of being a YouTuber and having to pre-record stuff, and then I've been doing some Geekism Studios as well, and movies as well today as well. Lots got done, to be honest with you. But anyway, we're not talking about those, we're talking about Pinewood, and in Pinewood today we've started work on something that I've been talking about since way back in about episode 3. I think we first mentioned the idea, because a lot of people have suggested we have a hotel in the park, and especially since hotels became a thing actually in the game, a lot of people have referenced having a hotel. Personally, I don't think Pinewood would suit a hotel, although most parks in the UK now do have hotels of sorts. The top tier ones anyway, sort of Blackpool has the Big Blue Hotel, Alton Towers has Splash Landings and the CBeebies Hotel and a few others as well. We're going for a little bit lower down on the sort of budget scale with this park. So think of more sort of like second tier parks like Drayton Manor, Oakwood, that kind of level. And they, as far as I'm aware, don't have hotels. But one thing they do have, Oakwood especially, and Lightwater Valley I know has as well. They have campsites. And I thought a campsite would be a nice idea to do with Pinewood, although there isn't really much you can do with a campsite. It's just a field with tents in it. We have a couple of tents in the game. I did have a little go at making a few using art shapes, but I just couldn't get them looking very good. They just look too shiny with the art shapes, and the pieces are too thick. And what would be really great if we could have some sort of like luminescence. Thinking about it, we could maybe try with glass. I've just thought we made the glass sort of like a really bright colour and then make it a little bit thicker so that it's see-through. We might be able to get that luminescent texture. I'll have a play with that actually. But anyway, we do have a few tents in the game that we're going to be using that I think are part of the Western set. They look pretty good. They're a bit old school, but they'll work quite nicely, I think, to sort of set the scene. And that's all I was going to do. And then when 1.6 came out with hotels, I thought, well, we should really try and implement that somehow. There was no chance with those big boxes that we're going to be able to stick them inside tents. But what we could do is build some chalets, I guess you would call them. Now, this is something that Alton Towers have. They have theirs are a bit more sort of themed than these ones. They have like a fantasy area. I forget what it's called now, Enchanted Forest or Enchanted Woods or something like that. Most likely has woods or forest in the same because it's Merlin, and I think it's part of their agreement. Yeah, so they have these sort of chalets, and I thought that would be quite a good idea to do kind of a mix between those and then a more traditional sort of static caravan chalet that you would find in somewhere like Haven or Pontins. I apologise for people outside the UK, I'm most likely talking gibberish here now, but these are very classic things that we have here from years gone by when more people used to holiday in the country. So I wanted to kind of go somewhere in between, so log cabin, woodland style, quite sort of cosy retreat, but then not have the sort of grandeur scale of a sort of fairy tale build or anything. I wanted to keep it more, sort of like a big old lump of wooden brick, basically, which is kind of what we've got here. Using some of the spooky windows there because they give off these really nice lights with curtains. I think they look quite nice here. They don't look too spooky. They just look a little bit run down, which is kind of what we wanted. So the basic idea here is that this is its own little hotel with a luxury room inside it. And I actually don't connect the path up or even open the hotel, so I'm not really able to see how the guests interact with these at the moment. That'll probably happen in episode 2 when we finish this area of episode sort of part 2 of this bit, I guess, really. There's not much to do, so it won't be a whole episode, but next episode we'll start off by finishing off this area with the actual campsite, and I want to do a few other things over here as well. I was thinking a few sort of like adventure things, upsell adventure things, so maybe a rock climbing wall and something like a Go Ape. If you don't know what that is, it's like a high wires course, like a high ropes course, like a treetops ropes course, that sort of thing. I think that would sort of fit the wilderness theme, the sort of wood theme that we're going for here, and also, you know, sort of thing you would see at campsites and also as an upsell. Lots of parks in the UK have upsell attractions. Things like mini golf, like I say, high ropes courses, go-karts, they're often upsell as well. So yeah, it's quite standard to see, so I thought that'd be quite a nice way of tying all the whole area together. Here then, all I've done is duplicate the whole thing and really just kind of moving it around a little. So we put the chimney over the other side, we move the little sort of out piece there. Those pipes still haven't been fixed up, they're still bright white. And it's just to give us a little bit of variation, so that not every single chalet is the exact same, although these obviously would be pretty similar because you don't want to be staying in one and the guy next to you being in a much nicer one, you know. So the idea here was very much keeping them similar but different, I guess. So I start by placing 4 down, and then at the very end of the video I'll place another 3 down. Really not sure numbers wise how many of these we need. The problem is you don't want to pack them in too much, because the selling point for these kind of things is that they're sort of, you know, these sort of beautiful quiet retreats away from the excitement of the park. So you're sticking too close together or too close to the road, which probably one of them ends up being a little bit too close to the road, to be honest with you. You know, they're not really sort of filling their quota. So here we're doing a little bit of signage for each individual chalet. So we're going to call the area Pinewood Lodge, even though it's lodges, I guess, really. I just thought Pinewood Lodge had quite a nice ring to it. And again, we're going to work on some signage in a little while as well. And here I'm just looking for a piece that will fit quite nicely and kind of make it all look nice. And I remember seeing a lot of people use these icing pieces like they're sort of carved wood. I think that works out quite nicely. So we'll place these along there. These are probably a little big. They suffer a little bit from the scale of the game. But I'm going to go with it for now. May end up tweaking them in the future. I'm not too sure. So really, apart from those... the actual sort of log cabins themselves, the chalets themselves, the main thing we work on here today is this sort of infrastructure of the area. So we bring the road here off the main road that will end up carrying on, at least being the main road. We might look at putting another guest entrance down there. We're going to have to throw the map into Scenario Editor and have a little look, but I'm thinking maybe if we throw another guest entrance down there like we've done at the start of the park and bring some guests in the park this way, they may well use these features that we're building here. I'm not sure. I'm going to have a little play with them and see whether or not this works out. So this next bit I'm working on here is the sign into the area. I wanted to go for a very sort of rustic feel with these lovely little wooden pieces. This, I'll be honest with you, is very much influenced by Brodie McFadden's park, Cedarwood Valley, and he has a Camp Cedarwood there, which is a bit more sort of traditional kids camp, you know, a Camp America type thing, you know, where they go and learn how to tie knots, and I don't know what they do. But yeah, as opposed to this being sort of a traditional family campsite, his is a bit more of a sort of a traditional American kids camp, summer camp, I guess. But even still, he has a similar sign to this using these small pieces, and it was months and months ago he did this, to be honest with you. He hasn't made the video quite very recently. But I remember seeing this, and even way back then thought, oh, I'll remember that. That's quite a nice way of doing it, using these small pieces. And considering I'm always moaning for small pieces, this small wooden blob is one that I don't really use very often. Actually, it works out really quite nicely for this. It gives us quite a nice font. So, and also you notice I did that font freehand as well. I didn't use a billboard because I thought, do you know what, it's literally going to be square letters. I reckon I could probably do this one freehand. And then here we're using the iron metal rings and some rope to basically give this some support, because it's a little top heavy. It's a little bit this would blow down in the wind, to be honest with you. So we're using this here, a bit of structure, and to be honest with you, these little things like this that I often forget about, but really you know, it's these things that make all the difference, these little areas here. Now I was originally going to place it in this hole here, in that sort of gap of the island, but I actually realised it fits almost perfectly over the path there. So you'll see me putting a couple of cars in to make sure the clearance is okay. So you can pretty much get any car and van down here. You wouldn't be able to get a lorry, but then why would you want to get a lorry down into a campsite anyway? So with that in mind, we actually do a staff entrance and staff car park that leads separately onto the main road, so that if there were any lorries or trucks for deliveries, you know, food deliveries or whatever for the main area, they would be able to go there and they wouldn't have to come through this lodge area. So without the sign being there, I end up just turning this bit into a little bit of a berm with some pine trees. make sure that I get quite a few pines around here. One of the complaints that a few people have given me so far is that, considering it's called Pinewood Hills, there aren't many pines and there aren't many hills. At least here I can kind of fix the pines thing, although we may look at adding a bit of a hill. What I quite like the idea of is having a proper sort of pine wood forest that breaks this and the park are separated, so it gives you sort of like a green belt almost between the chalets here and the park. So next up, then, we're building the largest building in the area. This is going to be basically the reception, or I don't know what you really call it, the camp headquarters, I guess. This is where when you first get there, you come in here and you get your parking permit, and you get your you come here to buy coal for your fire, and all things like that. And there's also a little cafe in here as well. And bigger campsites will have larger versions of this, and they'll have like entertainment and stuff. But I felt that because it's on the side of a theme park, and a small theme park at that, they wouldn't really have much going on here, because the reason you're camping here is to go to the park. So you're not necessarily looking for much stuff to keep yourselves occupied, whereas a more traditional sort of campsite, you would find like a kids club here, an arcade, that kind of thing. But really, if you're staying here, it's because you want to visit Pinewood Hills. So as we will still have a couple of, like I say, sort of upsell attractions, and probably look at doing a little adventure playground, because it just fits the area so well. The main draw here is the fact that people are going to be visiting the park. So this is really more of a serviceable building. They come in here, you can get like I say, you get your keys to the chalet, and or you get your pitch details if you're pitching a tent. Using the archer there, I still get people ask me what the archer's for. Basically, he's the same size as the guest in the game, and so we place him down. It just helps the scale not get away from you too much. It still gets away from me a little bit now. I'm dealing with it. I wish I had the time and, to an extent, the inclination to do scale, as well as people like Blue Spirit and Ryan, who I kept pronouncing Rian in the last video. Ryan and all people like that who do crazy perfect scale. Mineral is another one. I just haven't got time for it. I know it's something something John mentioned, Mass Bandit mentioned in his series, that we try, but sometimes that it's good enough is kind of the attitude I have to have, and that's not necessarily because I'm making a video and I have to put a video out. I'll be honest with you, it gets to a point where I stop enjoying it because I don't get enough done. I quite like finishing areas and looking at them and saying, yep, that's cool. And as much as I would love to have the patience of a saint and be able to spend 8 hours, 10, 15 hours and have a shop front for it, I can't do it, unfortunately. If I spend 8 to 10 hours, I want to have a bit of an area done, really. So that's my sort of issues I have with scale. So at some point I kind of give up fighting the game and just kind of go with it. But saying that, I feel like the scale isn't awful here. It's pretty close. It's probably this area on the left here is probably a little tall, but I just wanted some variation in the roof because the building was looking a little bit flat. And to be honest with you, it still does look a little flat. It's actually based on a real building called the Old Post Office campsite. It's the main building from there. So it's loosely based on that, and it turns out quite nicely, but there's not really that much going on, and I feel like it just needs something to make it pop. So, obviously suggestions on a postcard, please feel free to pop them down in the comments. One thing I would like to mention actually is comments for a moment, and I'm going against everything YouTube has taught me here, because obviously they constantly say that commenting is the best thing, and please comment and comment and just comment gibberish, and it doesn't matter as long as you comment, then it helps the video. But on my Geekism Studios video, the last one I did, where I was building a part of the Subnautica ride, I accidentally coloured a few pieces green instead of yellow, and which unfortunately happens from time to time, as I'm quite colourblind. I'm quite colourblind. I'm very colourblind. Dogs see more colour than me, to be honest with you. I have a tertiary deficiency, so all my cones are messed up. anyway, beside the point. Yeah, orange. I did green stuff instead of sort of orangey yellow stuff, and also I said in the video that you couldn't snap the new parabolic screens to the right. It turns out you can. I think I couldn't do it because they were built underground slightly, and that's great. And somebody in the comments mentioned the fact that they were green and they should be yellow, and then somebody in the comments mentioned that the parabolic screens do snap, and then somebody else mentioned that they were green instead of yellow, and then somebody else mentioned that the screens snap, and then somebody else mentioned that the screens snap, and then somebody else mentioned it, and somebody else, and somebody else, and somebody else mentioned they were green, they should be yellow, and somebody else, and somebody else, and somebody else, and pretty much half the comments I got on that video were somebody saying the exact same thing that somebody else had said. Now, first of all, I'm incredibly grateful for people pointing this out to me, especially with the colours. That's the sort of thing I need you guys to pull me up on so I can get them fixed, I can get the wife to have a look at them. But you know what, just one thing I always wanted to happen with Geekism was that it was a community of people who appreciate creativity in video games, and it's a community of people who like playing games the same way I like playing games. And I started making this content because I couldn't find this sort of content out there, and I always and still do now want myself to be a small part of what Geekism is and what Geekism can be. The reason I say is that in the comments, don't just talk to me, don't just shout at me that the colours are wrong. Have a look and see if somebody else has mentioned it, and if they have, maybe have a chat with them and see if there's a way we can fix something. And if anyone has a good idea in the comments, let them know and say that's a great idea, and let's get some conversation going in the comments, as opposed to just using it as a way of getting my attention. I read all the comments, I try and comment, try and reply, or at least like them if I can. But I 100% read all of them. I often do it in work when I shouldn't be, but please never think that I'm not seeing your comment. I always read every single one. I always read my Discord. Again, even if I don't always get time to reply, same with Twitter and everything, I consume every single thing that people throw at me. So please don't think that I'm ignoring you. Just, let's use it for what it can be. Let's use it as this great resource where people who have a similar interest can chat and share ideas and come up with stuff. Anyway, I'm going to get off my high horse now. Let's look at what we're building here. So like I say, it's a bit interesting this, because the backstage area of this is actually at the front. So as you drive in, you'll actually drive past this. And this is something I wanted to do. These places, they don't really take into account what they look like. They get the job done. One of the campsites we often go to, you drive straight past the toilets as you drive in. Isn't these places that have these perfectly manicured entrances. They put stuff where they can put stuff. They put stuff where the drainage is. Talking of toilets, we need to do a toilet block up here. Actually, that's just reminded me. So here they've got the building there, and then they try their best to cover it up with some planting and some fencing and things like that. But for the most part, yeah, you're going past the bins to get here, to be honest with you. Loving the new studio stuff. Just little things like this. What I'd give from it, just give me another 100 pieces like this. Give me another 100 pieces of bits of crap that I can put on the floor around places. It adds such a difference. Really makes the place feel alive, really makes the place feel used and real. Really, one of my favourite things to do now is to go around and put bin bags everywhere. The Pinewood Hills is going to be an absolute tip by the time we're finished, because all the rubber bags, the bin bags I'm putting everywhere. So here we're carrying on the fencing a little bit. We're going to go back and do this properly. There we go. More trash everywhere. Trash. And then here's a bit of parking for a couple of members of staff. You can come in and park up there. And I purposely made the car colours there a bit washed out and didn't put the nicest wheels on. This is these wouldn't be the best cars. It's not the executives that are parking here. A bit of planting then, a few windows, nothing crazy here really. Again, it's a serviceable building. This would be the offices, and they've used the space there to store paperwork. And again, as best as you can at pines. And then as I pulled away, I noticed that this chain link fence, as much as we love the chain link fence, oh boy, we love it, it looked a little too sterile, especially for this sort of main strip here as you're coming in. Like I say, they will place stuff where they have to place it, but they'll try and make it look a little bit nicer. So we go through and use this, I think it's a pirate fence actually, but I think it's great for this kind of rusticy style build. So they use that to kind of make it look a little bit more interesting, but then still the chain link fence is there for security reasons more than anything else. Nighttime then, we don't do too much at night. I could very slightly light up the sign and then use these security lights to give us a bit of a security lit area on the car park there. and then actually get rid of those because they just take a little bit too much away from the signage, and we just bring it down to some slightly more sort of subdued P lighting. A few more trees on the other side there. I'm kind of finishing up now, really, and I'll be honest with you, and I'm going to be totally honest with you now, the last few bits I do are mainly for the screenshot. I kind of wanted to sort of finish off the area a little bit, and one thing I have to do is when I finish the build is have a little look around it and find where the screenshot's going to be, and everywhere I looked here it looked bare, to be honest with you, and that's, you know, totally understandable because it's not finished. Obviously this is going to be very heavily wooded. We're going to have to go through and place a lot of foliage around here, and it's going to be quite a long process and most likely something we do on a live stream. But to get that sort of decent thumbnail, I needed to go in and do a kind of a mask of a forest here. So that's basically all we're doing here, adding some trees, and then I start working on sort of section 2 of these things. Again, we place down, I think it's 3. I think one of these might be a little closer to the road, probably, so I may well go back and adjust these. There, I just noticed that some of the paint had turned into tarmac with the recent changes in terrain. So yeah, that one there probably is a little close to the road, to be honest with you. So I may well go back and change that one out, and maybe we could use that as the kiddies park area. Here I'm having a look at replacing that fence, and then realise it's about 23 miles long, so decide against it in the end. It will get done, but I just wasn't in the mood after building all this nice stuff. I didn't fancy just doing some fence work, but it needs to be done, so it will get done. Finishing off this little bit of a I don't know what the word is for these, like a bit in between the roads. It's a little bit uneven. Looking at using coconut and then thinking, no, do you know what? We've got the grass. We'll just use the grass. There we go. Keep it light, keep it neat. And there we go. There's our Pinewood Lodge logo. So as you look into here, probably you'll just see forest eventually. You've got a nice view of the hill in the background then, the Pinewood Hills, that is, before you'll start moaning. They're already there. A little shot of the chalets there. This sort of large green area in the front will do as a little bit of a picnicky area, maybe some swings and slides for the kiddies. And then there's the reception. You go in there to get your pitch and your logs and things like that for your fires. And then another shot of one of the chalets in particular, chalet number 1. Oh, need to go. That's not chalet 1. Need to go back and change the number of that, and also add the sign to it as well. That's reminding me. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, you can give us a like. It really does help out the channel. And if you're not already, don't forget to subscribe. Any thoughts, queries, or suggestions? Let's start a conversation in the comments. And if you want to get hold of me in particular, you can do so at Twitter. I'm at John T. Sparrow. If you'd like to join in with the Geekism community, you can do so over on our Geekism Discord server. You'll find the link for that in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.